But this again is a section I would like to censor. You're saying you're going to have a relief from elections. We love elections. Why do you want a relief from it? What do you mean by this? Let's have a look at what your data says. 2023 unusually will be a light year for elections around the world. Then that's just before the election storm in 2024. 2023, no country has elections this year. This has not happened this century.
Among the G7 countries.
Among the advanced,
Among the advanced
ones that have a
countries,
huge
the 7
impact.
largest democracies, there's not a single country having elections in 2023, and that's not ever happened this century. So it's quite a coincidence that that's happened.
And you're saying on G20, the lowest number, only 2 elections this year, lowest number in 35 years?
Yes, that's right.
And that you're saying, but there are 2 elections and spotlight will be on possible regime change in Turkey and Nigeria. Are you, is it based on opinion polls? You've done a forecast?
No,
but that's what people are talking about.
Yeah, that's what people are talking about, which is the fact that among the G20 economies also, which includes some emerging markets, there are hardly any elections this year. So very rarely does something be newsworthy for something not happening. And the fact that we have a bit of a pause in 2023 is very unusual as far as the global electoral cycle goes. But a couple of countries which are having elections, not that big but still significant, are Turkey and Nigeria.
Yeah, they are.
And in both those places, if I can dare say so, that if you get a regime change, that could end up being good for those countries, because in Turkey's case we have seen that Erdogan, who started off strong, has really run his economy into the ground. Now it's far from clear that he will lose, but the opinion polls are pretty tight. So we'll see how that plays itself out. So that's an election worth keeping on.
Nigeria, and he's had 1 or 2 setbacks in local elections.
Yeah. So I think that's like an election worth keeping on, and also because there's so much fear about strongman rule and stuff. And 2022 anyway was not a great year for strongmen around the world, arguably. But as far as Turkey is concerned, we'll see what happens in 2023. Yeah. And Nigeria is the other one.
Your forecast for your travel in 2023 is not going to be, after these statements, not going to be Turkey or Nigeria, is it?
It's always India for election travel.
Okay. No, I mean just for travel after you've said, well, the truth.
Yes.
Okay. And but elections, this is an amazing factor that you found. Elections cause gains in stock markets in developing economies, but in developed economies, stock markets underperform in election years. Look at stock markets during election years. Developed countries, down by 3%, underperforming relative to other stock markets. Developing countries, they overperform by 4%. Elections are good for developing countries, stock markets and the economy. We should have lots more elections.
No, this is the piece of research that I had done earlier and we've spoken extensively about, which is that normally in emerging markets, the best stock market returns tend to be when a new leader comes to power with a fresh mandate, because that's typically when the new leader is most incentivized to carry out economic reforms.
Right.
So that's what we've seen historically. So there's hope.
Yeah.
And so therefore when, like in developed countries, the potential for a leader to come and change things is much more limited. So it leads to more volatility, but not necessarily a better outcome. But in emerging markets, fresh leadership can often lead to better stock market performance, and that's something which we may even see in the likes of Turkey, Nigeria. If you get a regime change, I think the stock markets there could fly in 2023.